Hey man, it's the last video. You gotta have some fun. All right, everybody come in. Come on, guys. Robert behind the camera. Dimitri, Eber, the last video of Computex 2023. We are at DeepCool, and this is all about, for me, some updates. Yes. All about Dimitri's new love affair with a case.
Yes.
And also about the sponsors for this show. We want to thank all of our sponsors for having us here at Computex 2023 and supporting our travels. Again, from all of us to you guys and all of our viewers, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
All right, so let's get to some cooler updates. The cooler updates are this one thing that everybody seemed to have been asking for in the CES video that you saw. So these are the digital screen coolers. Everybody seemed to go absolutely crazy over them. There's some good news here and some bad news. So first of all, the good news. The white. They're getting us the white. The only thing that I notice here is that actually on the white versus the black, what you're seeing is a little bit dimmer of a display on this. This is basically the lighting in this room, and the lighting that we brought here to light ourselves is blowing this out just a little bit. Supposedly they're looking at upping the amount of light coming from these sort of digital readouts in order to compensate for some additional light that might be inside of the case. The only thing is that they also say that the amount of light that's in a case is very, very minimal. So the difference between the black one and the white one is not going to be as much as you're seeing here. This massive, massive lineup of coolers, but they've actually cut it down just a little bit. So right now there are just 4 coolers in black and white in DeepCool's digital edition. So what you have is the AK620 digital, the AK500 digital, the AK500S digital, and the AK400. Now, what are we talking about when it comes to actual price increases here? Because look, DeepCool is known as being one of the more value-oriented brands, at least value versus performance-oriented brands out there right now in the cooler space. So there are some price increases here, of course. It is about like maybe $15 to $20, which on a higher end cooler isn't too much, but when you're talking about a lower end budget version, well, that's when things start to get a little bit more expensive for folks. Luckily, DeepCool is known to have a bunch of sales throughout the year. Nonetheless, these things are releasing a little bit later in the year, probably around June or July. What you've probably seen in some of this footage that you're seeing is, guess what? The Assassin 4 is coming in white. I mean, look at this contrast. They didn't decide to go with a white fan. Instead, it is a contrasting gray. Nothing else has really changed about this between now and CES time, other than a couple of small modifications to mounting and things like that that they're doing in order to optimize performance. This thing is launching in June, July, or August for how much? Is it $125 that a lot of people predicted? Is it $150 that I said in the CES video? Nope. It is $99 for the white version, $99 for the black version. Personally, I think this thing is going to be ultra competitive. And not only that, it looks freaking amazing. I've got one at the office. Review coming up soon. Okay, the next couple of things are going to be a little bit more rapid fire. So there is now going to be an LT820. That is the absolute flagship of DeepCool's AIO lineup. So what you get here is a 420 millimeter radiator with 3 140 millimeter fans. Other than that, there is nothing that has changed from their other AIOs, or at least their other LT series AIOs. You still get this beautiful pump. You still get a very, very streamlined radiator. The price for this, look, we are seeing a lot of 360 millimeter AIOs, not sort of 420s at the show, being priced $200 and above. This one, on the other hand, you're looking at around $169 US, maybe a little bit more. That could be a screaming good value depending on the performance. Coming a little bit further down, this is a 67 millimeter high and 600 cooler that is geared towards the ITX market. 180 watt TDP dissipation. Maybe I'm not giving this thing as much credit as I should. A lot of the DeepCool stuff is very, very much understated when it comes to their performance claims. So the other thing that you're going to see on this thing is it is a 6-pole motor, and they really want to play that up. You can actually see that there's an LED in there sort of like illuminating things like the Iron Man arc reactor. Unfortunately, in a lot of ITX cases, you're probably not going to see that, but it's there. The last thing we've got is a very, very quick update to their PX series power supplies. This is the PXP series. It is now platinum rated. Now, I don't think that's necessarily ultra interesting for a lot of you guys, but it leads me into a little bit of a rant, and that is about these things, all right? All the power supply manufacturers, I want to see you stop doing this. This is what I call stiff cable syndrome. This might look amazing, but it is such a pain in the butt to route. There's a bunch of power supplies on the market right now with a lot more supple cables than this. It's not too bad for holding a bend, especially for that 12-pin connector that tends to sort of like loosen itself and have all sorts of problems. But when it comes to just bunching them up for proper cable management, that's where the problem comes in. So anyways, one request, DeepCool, please go with a little bit more supple cables. But anyways, wanted to go to Dimitri now with the new sort of like case love of his life.
And now let's talk about my new love affair with this new Morpheus case from DeepCool. DeepCool, I forgot the P. All right, so now let's talk about my new love affair with this full tower from DeepCool, the new Morpheus. Their slogan for this one is supreme flexibility. So, you know, at first glance, you look at it, you're like, okay, well, this just looks like another full tower, you know, full mesh front, the top, lots of fan configuration on the interior, yada, 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 all the same stuff. But when we look on this side of the table, we get to see the following panel. So this is kind of the start of the show. This is what allows the case to go from your single chamber configuration, what you can see here in the white enclosure where the GPU, the power supply is at the bottom, the GPU is just standard horizontal and air cooler. And you use this panel to convert into a dual chamber configuration. That's what makes it so exciting. So it goes from your traditional full tower to a not your traditional dual chamber, almost fish tank look. That's not a fish tank because there's no glass in the front. It's all trying to focus on airflow and delivering some good performance on the interior. Conversion, right? Conversion is important. Going from single channel to dual chamber is important. 13 screws from what I have counted so far, which is not a lot. You know, without the system in there, remove everything, put it back together, that's important. And I feel like just being able to count the number of holes on these panels is simple enough. You don't need a whole 12-page instructions manual on how to like do something like this. And I say that because when you talk about Li and the ability to inverse one of their O11 dynamic EVOs, which is a fantastic feature, but it's so complicated. So I'm excited that this dual chamber conversion is not. When we talk about the hero features for the Morpheus, so this single, triple 140mm fan bracket with RGB fans included. So this will be installed on the side. We do also have a screen that can be installed on the power supply shroud that will display your CPU and GPU temperature with these green levels that will reach out maximum and start flashing once you hit a certain temperature. And it's of course connected with the USB 2 connector to the motherboard. It reads all the same information like hardware info would, so you don't have to think about like, oh my God, is it stealing my information or is it not displaying it properly? The mesh porosity is super high just because of the square ventilation pattern. It is consistent everywhere in the case, and one little cool tidbit that is included, they don't have a name for it yet, but they are these like rubber pixels. I can show you right here. They're these little tiny things that you will immediately lose the first thing they come out of the bag, but they're white or black or a different color. And because the mesh is this like pixelated, you can basically spell out or make your own design on the top, on the front, and the back, at the bottom, anywhere else. And I really appreciate this sort of customizability. The I/O is absolutely loaded with 4 USB ports. It has an LED switch because you can adjust the RGB of the included fans. And speaking of fans, you can do 13 140mm fans. So triple 140s at the front, at the top, on the side, and the bottom, and a single let's see, it's 140 at the rear in the single chamber configuration, but they're also showcasing a system with, how many is it? 6 200mm fans, so to the front. So the amount of airflow you can expect out of this full tower is absolutely mind-blowing, which is expected given today's needs, you know? Today's cooling needs, more importantly. Now, all these panels really show the modularity of the Morpheus because everything is screwed in, as you can see on here. So in terms of disassembling and perhaps modding something and perhaps painting something, I love this DeepCool color. It would be cool to have some accents panels on the white or the black model that really showcase the brand, you know, not just your traditional white and black boring things, but this motherboard tray can shift up and down depending if you want more clearance at the bottom or the top for whatever configuration you want. And Unfortunately, this DeepCool Blue will not be included. This is just for showcase of the modularity of the concept, but I really want this to happen. This color particular to happen. Please make it happen. DeepCool. Please. Please. All the fan mounting is done with the help of these fan brackets. This is great because it saves on the amount of material that is attached to the frame, therefore improving configuration for cooling, removing additional restrictions that might encounter because of the frame. You can go 120, 140, or 200. And if you come in over here, we do have 3 positions for these brackets. So you can go centered, you can go slightly offset closer to the side panel, and you have that flexibility on the top, on the front, and not so much on the side. The side one is kind of maxed out at 140s, but still, this is a really good configuration to do for all the other slots, including the bottom. And when we're talking about price, I mean, $229. What do you guys think? In the world of large dual chamber configurations, this one gives you the ability to go one way or the other without sacrificing on, like, oh my God, I'm gonna be pulling my hair out trying to reconfigure this case. But on the other hand, $229 is a little bit a lot, not a little bit, a lot. What is a little bit a lot? It's not as competitive as I would like it to be, just because, you know, visiting Lee and Lee and seeing everything they're doing with the O11 dynamic and all the other iterations, I feel like DeepCool's Morpheus would have to have a little bit more flair when it's finally launching to like hit that sweet spot, you know? Let me know what you think of the Morpheus and all the cooling configurations that Michael covered. I'm Dmitry. I'll talk to you in the next video, in our final Computex video.
See you guys. Have a good one. See you in the next one. But not from Computex.
Nah.